The massive sensor array on Luna Base picked up something unprecedented that cold Tuesday morning. Commander James Walker stood frozen as the decoded message played across the main screen. It wasn't in any human language, yet somehow the quantum translators made it clear as day. Emergency. Please help. Anyone who receives this. The Krell Empire attacks our homeworld. We are the Vari. We have no warriors. We will cease to exist in 7 rotations. Please. The message repeated endlessly, accompanied by coordinates from a system humanity had only recently detected 30 light-years away. What made everyone in the command center stop breathing was what came next: detailed scans showing the attackers. Weapons were primitive by human standards. Plasma cannons that Earth's military had surpassed a century ago. Shield technology that wouldn't stop a basic ILGUN. Admiral Kate Ross arrived within the hour. She read the reports with growing disbelief. They're being exterminated by technology we consider obsolete? Yes, Admiral, Walker confirmed. The Vari appear to be a peaceful species. No military infrastructure at all. They're philosophers, artists, scientists, but they never developed weapons. Ross turned to face the gathered officers. How many ships can we ready? The entire Third Fleet is on standby. 47 vessels, reported Captain Tom Bradley. But Admiral, we've never made contact with alien species before. Protocol suggests. Protocol doesn't cover genocide, Ross interrupted. She looked at the repeating message. At the countdown timer, someone had helpfully added, showing 6 days remaining. Humanity spent centuries killing each other. We became very, very good at it. Maybe it's time we used that skill for something better. The room fell silent. Everyone knew Earth's history, the wars, the nuclear exchanges, the bioweapon disasters that had nearly ended them. Humanity had crawled out of that darkness and reached for the stars, carrying weapons powerful enough to crack planets. They'd always wondered if they were alone. Now they knew they weren't, and someone needed their help. Sir, Lieutenant Maria Garcia spoke up from the communication station. The message includes biological data about the Vari, their methane breathers. Average lifespan of 300 years. Population of 12 billion. She paused. There are recordings of their music, their art. They're beautiful. Ross made her decision. Prepare the fleet. Maximum battle readiness. We jump in 48 hours. Admiral, Walker said quietly, what if the Krell Empire is stronger than we think? Ross smiled grimly. Commander, humanity survived nuclear winter. We adapted to radioactive wastelands. We built cities in space with no air. We've been preparing for war our entire existence, even when we had no enemy. She turned to the main screen. The Krell use plasma weapons. We use antimatter. They have shields. We have dimensional phase shifters. They're about to learn why Earth is classified as a death world. The preparations began immediately. Across Earth and her colonies, the news spread aliens existed, and they needed help. The response was unanimous. Veterans volunteered to return to service. Factories switched maximum production. The planet that had once nearly destroyed itself united with singular purpose. In the fleet staging area near Jupiter. Captain Alex Roberts stood on the bridge of the Dreadnought, Phoenix Rising, watching dozens of humanity's most powerful vessels gather. Carriers loaded with fighter squadrons. Destroyers bristling with weapons that could turn asteroids to dust. Support ships carrying enough firepower to supply a small war. All ships report ready, Captain. His first officer, Lieutenant David Park, announced. Doc Roberts nodded, looking at the star chart showing their destination. You know what's funny, David? We always thought first contact would be either peaceful exchange or invasion. Nobody imagined this. What's that, sir? That we'd be the cavalry riding to the rescue. As the fleet prepared for humanity's first faster-than-light jump to save an alien species, no one knew what they would find. But one thing was certain. The Krell Empire was about to discover what happened when you threatened the innocent in front of a species that had mastered the art of war. The countdown continued. 6 days to save a civilization. 6 days to show the universe what humanity could be, not conquerors, but protectors. Asterisk, the jump through hyperspace lasted 18 hours. When the Third Fleet emerged near the Vari system, every sensor immediately screamed warnings. Captain Roberts gripped his command chair as the tactical display lit up with hundreds of contacts. 200 Krell vessels surrounding the third planet, Lieutenant Park reported. His voice steadied despite the odds. They're bombarding the surface. Massive casualties detected. Admiral Ross's voice crackled across the fleetcom. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Priority targets are bombardment vessels. Phoenix Rising, you're with me. The human fleet accelerated, and within minutes, the Krell noticed them. Alien voices flooded the communication channels, harsh, guttural sounds that the translators struggled to decode. Finally, words formed. Unknown vessels, this is Krell territory. Leave or be destroyed. Ross opened a channel to respond. Krell Empire, this is Admiral Kate Ross of Earth's Third Fleet. Cease your attack on the Vari immediately, or we will stop you. The response came as laughter. Earth, never heard of you. One more dead species won't matter. So be it, Ross said coldly. All ships weapons free. The space between the fleets erupted. Krell plasma bolts streaked through the void, splashing harmlessly against humanity's shields. The human response was different. Railguns fired projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Antimatter torpedoes phased through Krell shields like they weren't there. Fighter squadrons launched, piloted by humans who thrived in gravitational forces that would crush most species. Captain, Roberts watched a Krell battleship simply cease to exist as 3 antimatter torpedoes found their mark. Their shields can't adapt to phased weapons. All ships concentrate fire on their command vessels. Below on the planet, the Vari watched in disbelief through their remaining sensors. Elder Tun, the planetary leader, stood in the bunker with his advisors. Their large, delicate eyes evolved for their world's dim light widened as they watched the battle. Who are they? Asked Counselor D, her forearms trembling. The message says ... humans. From Earth, Elder Tun replied, reading the transmission Ross had sent. They received our distress call. On the Phoenix Rising, Roberts ordered another volley. The Krell were falling back, their formation breaking. They'd lost 40 ships in the first 10 minutes. Humanity had lost none. Captain, incoming message from the Krell flagship, Park announced. The screen showed a massive creature, reptilian with 6 eyes arranged in pairs. What are you? Your weapons are impossible. Roberts stood. We're humans. We evolved on a world where everything tried to kill us: radiation, gravity, predators, disease, even our own atmosphere in the early days. We got very good at killing things back. He paused. But we got better at choosing what to kill. Leave this system now, or none of you will leave at all. The Krell commander snarled. You're bluffing. No species can be that powerful. Lieutenant Park, target their flagship. Single torpedo, low yield. 1 antimatter torpedo launched, phased through the Krell shields, and detonated against their hull. The explosion tore away a third of the ship, but left it functional barely. That was a warning shot, Roberts said calmly. Our standard torpedoes are 50 times that yield. Your choice. The battle had lasted 23 minutes. The Krell had lost 67 ships. Humanity had suffered minor shield damage to 2 destroyers. The choice was obvious. Krell fleet. Withdrawing, the commander growled, before cutting the connection dot as the enemy fled. Admiral Ross opened a channel to the planet. Vari leadership, this is Admiral Ross of Earth. The threat has been eliminated. We're here to help. The response came slowly, translated from the Vari's musical language. We ... we are grateful. But we don't understand. Why would you risk yourselves for strangers? Ross smiled, though they couldn't see it. Because we know what it's like to face extinction. We've been there. Several times. And we decided that if we ever found others facing the same fate, we'd be the help we wished we'd had. Medical ships descended toward the planet, carrying aid and technology to help the wounded. The Vari, seeing humans for the first time through video feeds, gasped. To them, humans looked like creatures from nightmares' dense muscles. Forward-facing predator eyes, teeth designed for tearing meat. Yet these terrifying beings were gentle with the injured, careful with their greater strength, compassionate despite their fearsome appearance. We are monsters, Captain Roberts said quietly, watching the feeds. But we choose to be monsters who protect rather than destroy. 3 days after the battle, Ambassador Michael Jones stood in the Vari council chamber, trying not to break anything. The furniture, the architecture, everything was delicate and beautiful, built for beings who'd never known war. The gravity was a third of Earth's, making every human move carefully to avoid launching themselves into the crystalline ceiling. Elder Tun spoke through the translator. Your soldiers work without rest. Our days are 37 hours, yet they haven't stopped helping. Jones smiled. Humans need less sleep than most species, Elder. Our ancestors were persistence hunters. We evolved to keep going when others couldn't. But the radiation from our damaged power plants, it's lethal to us, even in protective suits. It's comparable to a sunny day on Earth, our homeworlds. Background radiation would kill most galactic species in hours. We evolved with it. The Elder's forearms gestured confusion. How do you survive such a world? We adapt, Jones replied. Earth has deserts that reach 130 degrees, Arctic zones at -90. Humans live in both. We have storms that can level cities, earthquakes that reshape continents, volcanoes that blot out the sun. And that's just the planet. Everything living on it evolved to be just as harsh. A younger Vari, introduced as Scholar Ray, floated forward. We've been studying your history. You had 3 nuclear wars? 4, actually. The third one wasn't officially a war, just an exchange between 2 nations. Killed 60 million in 3 hours. The Vari went silent. Elder Tun finally spoke. And you survived this? We did more than survive. We learned. We unified. We took the same nuclear technology that nearly ended us and used it to power our journey to the stars. Jones gestured to the window where human ships patrolled. Every one of those vessels is powered by controlled antimatter reactions. We turned our weapons into tools, but we never forgot how to use them as weapons. Suddenly, alarms blared. A human sergeant, Lisa White, burst in. Ambassador, the Krell are back. 500 ships this time. They brought Olai's, the Zorax Empire. Jones's expression hardened. How long until they arrive? 6 hours, sir. Elder Tun's skin shifted to a pale blue, their species fear response. We should evacuate. You've done enough. Save yourselves. Jones activated his communicator. Admiral Ross, this is Jones. I see them, Ambassador. We're calling in the 1st and 2nd fleets. But they won't arrive for 8 hours. So we hold for 2 hours against 500 ships? Negative. We're going to win against 500 ships. Initiate Protocol 7. Jones turned to the Vari. You might want to watch this. In space, the 47 ships of the 3rd Fleet reorganized. They formed a sphere around the planet, then began something unprecedented. Each ship deployed thousands of small drones, each no bigger than a basketball. Captain Roberts explained to his bridge crew, knowing it was being transmitted to the Vari. Earth has a creature called the bee, tiny, individually weak. But when their hive is threatened, they swarm. They die by the thousands to protect their home. We learned from them. The drones spread out, forming a cloud between the planet and the approaching enemy. When the Krell-Zorax fleet dropped from hyperspace, they laughed at the tiny obstacles. They stopped laughing when the first drone hit. Each carried a microscopic antimatter core. One drone could cripple a fighter. A dozen could destroy a cruiser. And there were millions of them, moving in perfect coordination, guided by eye systems that had been perfected through centuries of warfare. Impossible. The Krell commander screamed as his fleet was torn apart by invisible needles. No species can coordinate such numbers. Admiral Ross responded coldly. Humans are social hunters. We've been coordinating complex group tactics since before we discovered fire. This is just an evolution of what we've always been. The battle lasted 1 hour and 14 minutes. The Krell-Zorax fleet was reduced to debris. The Third Fleet had lost 12 drones. On the planet, Scholar Ray turned to Jones. Your species? Your apex predators. Every human is descended from the survivors of extinction events, ice ages, plagues, and wars. We're not apex predators, Jones corrected. We're the species that killed all the apex predators on our planet, then felt bad about it and brought them back through cloning. Elder Ton made a decision. The galaxy needs to know. The humans must be recognized as protectors. We don't need recognition, Jones said, but we'll accept allies. The universe just got a lot less lonely for humanity. Asterisk, the Krell Empire's throne world had never been attacked in its 3,000-year history. Emperor Kor sat in his massive chamber, surrounded by his war council, studying the impossible reports from the Vari system. 2 fleets destroyed by 47 ships from a species no one had heard of. They call themselves humans, General Zan reported, his scales shifting to show agitation. From a planet called Earth, our spies gathered intelligence. They classify their own world as Category 9 Deathworld. Impossible, Kor snarled. Nothing survives on Category 9 worlds. The radiation alone, they evolved in it, Emperor. Their biology is ... terrifying. They can survive wounds that would kill us instantly. They regenerate damage. Their bones are reinforced with minerals. They have redundant organs. Kor stood, his massive frame towering over the council. Prepare the Grand Fleet, 10,000 ships. We'll erase these humans and take their technology. Emperor, General Zan cautioned, perhaps we should negotiate. No. The Krell Empire does not negotiate with primitives who just discovered space travel. That was their mistake. They assumed humanity was new to space. They didn't know humans had been in space for 300 years, perfecting their craft, preparing for threats they hadn't even met yet. When the Grand Fleet arrived at Earth, they found something unexpected. Not a planet cowering in fear, but a world transformed into the greatest fortress in the galaxy. Orbital defense platforms the size of cities. Moons converted into weapon bases. 1 million ships, from tiny fighters to dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything the Krell had built. Admiral Ross stood on Earth's primary command station, watching the enemy arrive. They brought everything, she said to President William Brown. Good, Brown replied. Let's end this. All forces engage. Show them why you don't attack a death world. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had witnessed. Humans didn't fight like other species carefully, preserving their forces. Humans fought like their ancestors relentlessly, accepting losses to achieve victory. Fighter pilots flew suicide runs when their ships were damaged. Damaged cruisers rammed enemy vessels. Marines in powered armor boarded Krell ships, fighting in conditions that would kill most species. Captain Roberts, now commanding from the super dreadnought Earth Subagence, coordinated the center assault. Remember, everyone, we're not just fighting for Earth. The Vari are watching. Every peaceful species in the galaxy is watching. We're showing them they don't need to fear anymore. The Krell Emperor watched his forces crumble. Humans were boarding his ships, and the reports were horrifying. Humans could survive in vacuum for minutes without suits. Their blood clotted instantly in wounds. They kept fighting with injuries that should be fatal. What are they? He whispered as another 1,000 Krell ships vanished from his display. His answer came from an unexpected source. A human had somehow appeared in his throne room, Major John Smith, who had teleported aboard using technology the Krell couldn't even detect. "We're humans," Smith said, his armor scarred from battle. "We're what evolution creates when you put soft, weak primates on a world that tries to kill them every day for millions of years. We're survivors. We're adaptable. And we're very, very angry that you tried to genocide the Vari." "Please," Kor begged, abandoning all pretense of strength. "Mercy." Smith nodded. "That's the difference between us. You asked for mercy. We'll give it. Surrender now, and your species lives. Continue fighting, and we'll do to you what you tried to do to the Vari." The battle had lasted 4 hours. The Krell had lost 8,000 ships. Earth had lost 300 each one, selling their destruction dearly. Emperor Kor broadcasted his surrender across the galaxy. As the terms were negotiated, the Vari delegation arrived on Earth. Seeing the human homeworld for the first time, Elder Tun stood in New York City, staring at the rebuilt metropolis. "You built this after nuclear war?" President Brown nodded. "3 times. We're stubborn like that. Your people, they sacrificed themselves to protect us. Why? Because that's what we learned from our history. The strong protect the weak. It's what separates us from the monsters we used to be." Scholar Ray was studying human history. "You had a word, heroes. Those who die protecting others." "Every human who died today was a hero," Brown confirmed. "And they'd do it again tomorrow if needed." The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Humans were dangerous, yes, but they were dangerous to those who threatened the innocent. To everyone else, they were guardians. Asterisk. 6 months had passed since the Krell War ended. The Galactic Council, an ancient body that governed peaceful trade and diplomacy between species, had called its first emergency session in 500 years. Representative Ann Taylor stood before beings from 40 different worlds. Preparing to speak for humanity, the council chamber was vast, filled with environmental bubbles to accommodate different species methane breathers, silicon-based life forms, beings who existed partially in other dimensions. At the center, the council's eldest member, a celestial named Ohm, who was older than human civilization, began the proceedings. "We gathered to discuss the humans of Earth." Ohm's voice resonated directly in everyone's minds. "In 6 months, they've shifted the balance of power in our galaxy. The question before us, are they protectors or conquerors?" Before Anne could respond, Elder Tun of the Vari stood. "I'll answer that. When my world burned, when 12 billion souls cried out for help, only the humans answered. They didn't know us. We offered them nothing. Yet they came." A crystalline being from the Sigma system chimed, literally, its voice like bells. "But they possess weapons that could destroy us all. Their smallest ship could devastate a planet." And finally spoke. "May I show you something?" She activated a hologram, showing Earth. "This is our home. See those craters? Each one was a city destroyed in our wars. Those radiation zones? places where millions died. We've killed 2 billion of our own kind throughout our history. The council murmured in horror. But, and continued, we learned. We grew. We chose to become better. Yes, we have terrible weapons because we evolved on a terrible world. But we use them now to protect, not destroy. How can we trust you? Asked the Zorak's ambassador, still bitter from their defeat. A new voice spoke from the entrance. Captain Roberts entered, but he wasn't alone. With him walked former Emperor Kor of the Krell, no longer in chains, but walking freely. Because they kept their word, Kor said. They defeated us utterly, could have exterminated us. Instead, they helped us rebuild. They showed us how to use our technology for growth, not conquest. My people have never been more prosperous. Anne nodded. We propose something new. A galactic protection force. Humans will provide the military backbone, but all species contribute what they can: science, art, medicine, philosophy. Together, we protect those who can't protect themselves. The celestial Om shifted, its ancient form rippling. You would share your military technology? No, Anne said honestly. Some things are too dangerous. But we'll share defensive technologies, medical advances, agricultural techniques that can feed billions. We'll stand between you and any threat. A small, timid species called the Pip, who had hidden in the chamber's corner, squeaked forward. What if you become the threat? Who protects us from you? And smiled and did something unexpected. She knelt, making herself smaller, less threatening. You protect yourselves from us by being our friends, by reminding us why we fight. Every human child now learns about the Vari, about all of you. You're not aliens to us anymore. You're neighbors. Captain Roberts added, we've put safeguards in place. Our military answers to a council with representatives from every allied species. No human can order an attack alone. We've learned from our mistakes. Over the following hours, species after species spoke. The primitive Toke, who had barely achieved spaceflight. The ancient builders, who created wonders but had no concept of violence. Each had stories of threats they'd faced, pirates they'd paid off, empires they'd appeased out finally. Om called for the vote. All in favor of accepting humanity's proposal for the Galactic Protection Force? One by one, lights appeared green for yes. The Vari first, then the Krell, surprising everyone. The Pip, the Toke, even the skeptical Zoraks. In the end, it was unanimous. As the council dispersed, Elder Tun approached Anne. Your species has given the galaxy something it never had hope. For 3 million years, it was always the strong consuming the weak. Now, the strong protect the weak. Anne watched as human and alien representatives mingled, planning the future together. We're still the monsters our evolution made us, she said quietly. But we're monsters who choose to guard rather than devour. Outside, the first mixed species training battalion was forming. Humans teaching tactics to the Krell. Vari sharing their sensor technology. The builders designing new defensive stations. Earth, the death world that had forged humanity in fire and radiation, had given the galaxy its guardians. And somewhere in the void, other threatened species sent out distress signals, not knowing that, for the first time in galactic history, someone would answer. Someone would always answer now. The monsters had become heroes. The end. Asterisk.